Mr. President, I rise today in opposition to a widely irresponsible legislation that is before us now. Although our colleagues are calling it the big, beautiful bill, this bill would instead be a betrayal to our economic future, hardworking American families, and some of our most vulnerable seniors, children, and people with disabilities. This bill will blow up our national debt, kick millions of people off of their health care, and take food off of families' tables while cutting food assistance. And for what? What our colleagues are mortgaging our country's future for? What are they slashing health care and food assistance to pay for? Well, they're doing it for tax cuts for billionaires. So before my colleagues rush to pass this irresponsible, reckless legislation, let's take a moment to go through exactly how much harm this bill will actually cause, and hear from the people in my state who are going to suffer if this law becomes law. To start, this bill will blow up the national debt. Since President George Washington gave his farewell address, our nation's leaders have warned against the dangers of accumulating a national debt. 15 years ago, Admiral Mike Mullen, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, stated, quote, "The most significant threat to our national security is our debt." The national debt is at an all-time high, $36.2 trillion. And just in the last 16 years, it has tripled. Our annual deficits frequently exceed $1.5 trillion, including a record $3.1 trillion deficit in fiscal year 2020 during the Trump administration. Unfortunately, these are the first of many grave financial milestones that we face. Within the next decade, our country will spend more on servicing the debt than we do on any other federal account outside of Social Security. Our fiscal house is basically on fire. But if our Republican colleagues jam through this bill, it's not going to pour water on that fire, it's going to pour gasoline on those flames. Democrats have tried to make efforts to pay down that debt in recent years. In fact, under the Inflation Reduction Act, a law that this bill attempts to actually gut, we reduced the deficit in that bill by nearly $250 billion. And in 2023, we passed the Bipartisan Fiscal Responsibility Act, which responsibly addressed the debt ceiling and had the potential to reduce deficits by up to $1.5 trillion. But unfortunately, the bill before us basically wipes all of that away. And I have always said that I'm open to making smart cuts to spending, but that those cuts should be matched with increases in revenues. Doing so would put us back on a sustainable financial path. Our Republican colleagues are doing the exact opposite. They are making drastic cuts to revenue, and according to the nonpartisan Joint Committee on Taxation, the tax provisions in this bill alone would decrease revenues by $4.2 trillion and add $3 trillion to our national debt. This is a recipe for disaster. If we face another emergency, like a pandemic or global financial crisis, we will be too hamstrung by our debt to respond effectively. We are on the brink of a financial disaster, and passing this bill could push us over that edge. Also, my Republican colleagues can cut taxes for billionaires. At the same time, our Republican colleagues are not making smart, sensible spending cuts to cover the costs that these billionaire tax cuts will mean. Instead, they're gutting health care for millions of Americans, including hundreds of thousands of Michiganders. It's reckless, and it is wrong. Medicaid is a lifeline for people in every single community across this country. It ensures that millions of Michiganders and Americans can have access to quality, affordable health care. And right now, folks across my home state of Michigan are scared about what this bill will mean for their families. I've heard from thousands of my constituents from every corner of the state of Michigan on how these cuts are going to hurt them. So today, I just want to tell you, through my constituent stories, just how detrimental this bill will be for most Americans. Take Isaac from Lansing, for example, who says Medicaid is the only lifeline he has to pay for the medicine that literally keeps him alive. We've also seen how more and more Michiganders and people all across our nation have shouldered the burden of serving as a primary caregiver for an aging parent. It's the ultimate gift that we can give to the people who have raised us. But the cost of critical nursing home and assisted living care continues to rise. Medicaid has become an essential way for our aging seniors to pay for the care that they need. Take Gwen from Grand Rapids, who says she wouldn't be able to pay for an assisted living facility for her grandmother without Medicaid. Many of us know someone, or maybe even love someone, who lives with a disability. Thanks to Medicaid, people with disabilities can get the care that allows them to live healthy and independent lives. That is the case for Wanda from Westland, who takes medication for an eye condition. Without Medicaid, she would not be able to afford her medication, and she could actually go blind. As too many of us know from personal experiences or from friends and loved ones, our country is facing a mental health crisis. Medicaid has become a saving grace for those who desperately need mental health care, but simply cannot afford it. Take Alan from Fort Gratiot, who says losing Medicaid would feel like losing the lives he's been given back through mental health care from Medicaid. Under this bill, rural communities will be especially impacted by cuts to Medicaid. In some counties in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, there's only one health care provider, meaning some Michiganders will have to travel up to 50 miles to get routine or emergency care. Medicaid helps keep these hospitals open. And if this bill passes, people in these rural communities are going to be cut off from basic health services. Medicaid also plays an essential role in making sure that children across Michigan get the care that they need. I heard from Gladys, a mother from Flint, who says Medicaid is the only reason her kids can get their asthma medication or have regular health checkups. Expecting mothers also reached out to share their concerns. While she is busy preparing to welcome a newborn baby into the world, Chelsea from Fenville is now afraid that she will lose her access to both pre- and post-natal care under this absolutely disastrous bill. I simply can't understand how my Republican colleagues would leave thousands of people across Michigan without the care that they need, all so they can give a tax break to billionaires. On top of that, my Republican colleagues are also proposing deep, harmful cuts to food assistance delivered through SNAP. SNAP serves as an absolute lifeline for millions of Americans, including children, seniors, people with disabilities, and working families. So simply put, if this bill is passed, it will mean people in Michigan and all across our country will go hungry. They will not be able to put food on the table while billionaires pay less taxes. That is just wrong. But it also makes no economic sense either. Every dollar in SNAP benefits generates more than $1.50 in economic activity. This supports local grocery stores, farmers all across our country, and the entire food supply chain. So on top of jeopardizing families' ability to put food on the table, to feed their children, these proposed SNAP cuts would also hurt businesses and jobs, particularly in rural America and in low-income areas. This bill produces the most amount of pain for the least amount of gain of any legislation that I can remember in all the years that I've had the privilege of serving here in the Senate. Mr. President, I can't believe that we are standing here debating this reckless, irresponsible bill. The harm this bill will do to the American people and to the people in my state of Michigan who are counting on Medicaid for health care and on food assistance to help feed their families is absolutely reprehensible. The damage this bill will do to our nation's economic security is not only reckless, it is unconscionable. This is not what our constituents want us to be focused on. They want us to help make their life better. But instead of focusing on that, here we are on the brink of passing a bill so irresponsible that it will destroy our country's economic health, harm millions of Americans, all so a handful of billionaires, the wealthiest of the wealthy, can have another tax break. Mr. President, I will never support such a reckless and catastrophic plan.